Uh, Having said earlier about the ideation process, I would now like to dwell more about ideation and creation of a plot with characters. Okay, ideation and how one prepares a plot. That's what we are going to look into in this episode of my creative writings videos, and how to create your manuscript. Now, there are some questions which I would like you to ponder. Number one, what is a plot? What are characters? Now, these are important aspects, and without these clearly defined, we will not be able to go ahead with understanding the concept of ideation, creation of a plot, and creation of characters. Now, plot is a sequence, an event which takes place in the entire story, and characters are basically not only the people that we see, that is one part of it, the people that they, but you have to look at characters as a conflict. All our fears, aspirations, our ambitions, our delusions, our illusions, and our where we want to go, our desire, all this ultimately reflects in an inner conflict, and those are characters. Now, one has to hit upon the character. Once you have hit upon the character part of it, the conflict part of it, in the character. Now, you got to look at what is the conflict in a character. If you are able to identify what is the conflict in the character, then I think probably you have won half the aspect about writing creative writings. Now, in order to proceed with your manuscript, you got to be clear as to how long you've got to remain with this manuscript. Now, this is a very important aspect, because how long you will remain with the manuscript is very important, which also means how big will be your work. That's a very important aspect. How big will be your work, your book. Imagine the number of words, and always invariably the book is counted with the number of words that you write on your Excel, on your word sheet. On your word sheet, the number of words that you write will define how big will be your book. A small book would be some 13 to 15,000 words, but that it not be a short story like thing. But still, I would say that it's okay to start with a small book. I did not write a very big book. My words were not very hugely counted, but they were definitely a certain amount of count. Now, 20 to 40,000 or 40,000 and above, 60,000, 80,000, these are big books. These are 300, 250 to 300, 400 pages books. Now, it is very imperative and important to understand the length which you will go writing your book. Now, unless you know how much you are going to write, you will not ever be able to come to the end, because there will be somewhere a writer's block and you are going to stop with the character. Now, very important with the storyline. The most important thing is there are some unique qualities and discipline that a writer must go through in order to not feel or get caught with sort of a writer's block eventually in between. So, very important number one which I want to touch upon here is establishing a firm writing place which will give you a focus. Now, I was a little privileged. I would say my way of writing was this, that I was a little privileged. I had a proper table and a chair, usually a table and a chair which we use in a classroom, or an office type table. But if that is not possible, everybody is not privileged, you can write in a coffee shop. You can also write in some bookstore. And for all this, it is essential that you have all your materials in order. Now, this is a very important aspect, that you should have all your materials arranged before you begin the process of writing, because unless you have the materials in order, everything in order, your pen, pencil, pad, short slips, your idea slips, your everything, everything that is in order, you won't be able to proceed. Now, these are important. Another important thing is what is the big idea. Now, you have got to establish what is the big idea in your novel. It is very imperative to know that what is an idea, what big idea that you have, because it's a small idea is not going to carry you for too long. It will evaporate in course of time. So, it is important that you have a very big idea. Now, you have to conceive an idea, and you have to keep on visualizing this full idea and plot, how it is going about, how it will take you and where it will lead you, and that is an important aspect. So, what are what is the success points and what are the success, how you will get success in your writing. So I would say first very important thing, yes, is that is a very good discipline, hard work, and what is most important is hard work. We all have been working in corporate office. I mean, I've been working in corporate office, so I know how it is and how hard it is to work even in corporate office. But when you are working on your own as a freelancer, or writing on your own book, yet you have to keep the discipline of hard work with you, because unless you do your bit of hard work, it is not going to materialize into something concrete which you will put on paper, and eventually you come out with a manuscript. So that is the thing I wanted to say in this in this episode of my manuscript, and I think manuscript creation, and I think that is the importance of being successful. You got to be persistent, you got to be regular at whatever you do, and all the time you have to be focused, writing a couple of words, 500, 700, 900, whatever is possible from your side. You must keep the writing process going. So this is an important aspect, and this is what I want to touch upon. So I think I have made amply clear that this is the writing process, and this is how you must go about. Once you will identify what is a plot, what are characters, how do we go about in our future videos as we go ahead in our series of creating a manuscript. Okay, so there I